Penguin Random House Audio presents I Love Jesus, But I Want to Die, Finding Hope in the Darkness of Depression. This is the author, Sarah J. Robinson. To Katie and all those like her, you've fought fiercely for wholeness and turned your shattered pieces into something beautiful. The world is better because you're still here. Forward. Dearest listener, I am so grateful for your presence in this precious moment and for your willingness to begin this book. Regardless of how this book has crossed your path, it contains some of the most honest and tender reflections from one woman's journey navigating the intersection of faith and mental health. Over the last several years, we've heard more courageous and heartbreaking stories surface alongside a growing amount of research that indicates our faith and mental health are interwoven in complex ways. As someone who has examined this intersection for more than a decade, I sense that these stories and studies are beginning to heal the complicated and unfortunately common divide between faith communities and mental health professions. Sarah's willingness to share her story and wisdom from lived experience helps us heal this division and empowers each of us to see these areas of our lives not as either or, but as both and. We can have faith and struggle with mental illness while moving toward our unique version of thriving. Sarah and I connected a couple of years ago over our shared interest in this topic, and getting to know her compassionate spirit, gentle heart, and humble desire to care for others has been a gift. Her journey is unique, and yet the complex layers of what she's navigated echo what so many experience. For some, faith can be a powerful source of support, while for others, elements of faith can be part of the painful struggle. More often than not, however, it's a complicated combination of both. Sarah's careful attention to the diversity of experiences you may bring to her story, her deep respect for both science and faith, and her humility merge into one of the most helpful books for understanding one person's lived experiences of mental illness, who also loves Jesus with her whole heart. This book is as much for those with mental health struggles, perhaps wrestling with their faith, as it is for many other groups. For example, the loved one who wants to better understand how to support their partner, friend, and/or family member working through symptoms of mental illness will be served in the chapters ahead. Mental health care providers with clients who regularly mention the role of faith in coping with mental illness will find deeper insights into this intersection. Finally, faith leaders who recognize that mental health struggles are a current reality for 1 out of 5 of their community members' daily lives, and even more when factoring in loved ones who are impacted, will find helpful considerations ahead as they discern how to best serve their community. I am deeply grateful for Sarah's courage, vulnerability, transparency, and tender care woven throughout this book. Even more, I am deeply grateful for Sarah's presence in our world, and I am honored by her willingness to share her heart with us. Sarah's life is a gift, and her story is one we can all grow from as we care for ourselves and for those around us. Kindly, Holly K. Oxhandler, Ph.D., LMSW. Author's note. I know there might be times when you don't think you can go on. You don't have to face those moments alone. If you need immediate help or just someone to talk to when you feel overwhelmed, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24/7 at 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-8255. For TTY users, use your preferred relay service or dial 711, then 1-800-273-8255. You can also reach the crisis text line by texting the word HOME to 741-741. Trained volunteers can help you navigate your situation, come up with a plan of action, and find your way back to a calm, safe place. Or call 911 or head to the emergency room or an emergency mental health facility if available in your area, if you can safely do so. You matter immensely and are worthy of support, care, and everything it takes to get better. Introduction. How to use this book. You're here because of the pain, aren't you? It might be a dull, gray ache that steals the color from your world, or a raging inferno tucked just beneath your skin. If nothing else, it's persistent, sticking around long enough that you don't know if you can do this anymore. I've felt that pain too. It's the stray dog I fed and couldn't get rid of. The colorless clouds, the oppressive fog. It's the weight on my chest, the rattle in my bones. The ghost that haunts the halls of my heart and mind and body. It's the curse I've carried like a scarlet letter, desperately wishing to be rid of it. And it's the disorientation of being plunged into midnight, finding myself terrified of the unseen things howling in the darkness. I'm sure there's something in that description that you can relate to. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. If you don't personally know this agony, perhaps your heart is aching for someone you care about. A loved one, a child or friend or spouse. Maybe a congregant or student. You're trying to understand his pain so you can offer some support, or maybe even help her find her way back to hope. It's a beautiful thing to want to lighten someone's load. Thank you for loving well enough to learn about this illness. Whether you're here for yourself or a loved one, I'm so sorry that you know this anguish. And I'm so glad you're here. Because there's something I've learned that I desperately want to share with you. It's possible to live a rich, beautiful life, even under these heavy clouds. This might sound absurd, especially for those of us who were taught that a life of faith means a life of victory, constantly overcoming the challenges in our paths. When healing doesn't happen, when our struggles remain, we're left wondering what's wrong with us for not experiencing this kind of triumph. I've asked that question, what's wrong with me, more times than I can count. But years of wrestling with depression, self-harm, and suicidal thoughts have taught me that sometimes the greater victory of faith is learning to walk with Jesus when suffering remains. This doesn't mean we're doomed to have miserable lives controlled by mental illness. Instead, we can learn to live well, cultivate hope, and find new ways of experiencing the abundant life Jesus promised those who walk with him. This may not be the vision of what it means to thrive that we're familiar with, but it's no less valid. Let me say it again, friend. You are not disqualified from the abundant life Christ promised to all his followers. There is beauty, hope, and even joy ahead for you. You aren't too fractured to experience it. There's a richer relationship with the God who loves you and never leaves you. There are wonderful surprises, and there's freedom you can't yet imagine, even if you don't experience complete healing from mental illness in this life. I know this because these promises of hope even in the dark, of joy coexisting with sorrow, are etched throughout Scripture from beginning to end. Science is constantly revealing ways we can live more whole and more healthy lives even with depression. I'm confident of this, not just because I read about it in the Bible or in a scientific research study, but because I'm living it. I've had lifelong depression and anxiety. Over the years, I've attempted suicide and used self-harm to cope with the pain. Even now, I still have hard days and weeks. But in spite of all that, my life is marked by genuine peace and even joy because I've learned how to care well for myself. I've realized what God really thinks and feels about me and my struggles, and I've found how I can support my brain and body to experience more joy and contentment. Now, when hard days come, I know I can ride the waves of depression without drowning under them. That's what this book is all about. This book won't cure you. It won't fix everything for you. Believe me, I wish it could. But it can help you find a path to a rich, fulfilling life despite living with severe depression. I want you to know that I am not a map maker. I can't plot your journey in perfect detail, showing you every milestone and landmark on the way to a life you want to wake up to, even on your hardest days. I am simply a
Sample complete. Ready to continue?